All right, here we go. First story. After being stationed in Point Mugu, California for a while, VP 65, this was crazy. One day, a phone call comes in. All right, let this car go by. I answered the phone. For some reason, it seemed like nobody was in the office. It was just me. Pick up the phone. Some irate lady going on. Immediately, I was able to decipher this sister was upset. When I mean sister, y'all know exactly what I mean. She's going out saying there's a certain second-class petty officer who's already married, living in base housing with some WW. And she just keeps going over and over and over and over about this second-class petty officer. And I believe she was basically saying she was the one that's married to him and they never got divorced. So she just keeps going on and on. But this second-class petty officer, I know him. I was introduced to this WW that he's with and living in base housing as his wife. So I'm just like, man, what? You know, after about 30 minutes, this lady like going off, get off the phone. Another car. So I go down to the office where the second-class petty officer works. Nobody's there. Seemed like nobody in the whole squadron was there that day. I have no clue where everybody was at. Maybe it was meant for me to get this phone call. Dang, my man, you all out in the intersection. But all right, I'm downstairs looking for this guy. So I go across the hall. And across the hall, the other second-class petty officer that I know is close with him, or I at least thought. Right? So I tell him, yo, your boy, we just got a crazy phone call. Tell him, I give him a little bit of the deets. Deets short for details. I tell him, tell old boy to come up, you know, talk to me. So how things go, I guess it eventually got back to the second-class petty officer who was involved in the story. Man, this climb is no joke. So the second class, he had an issue with me telling the boy across the hall. So he told his supervisor, then his supervisor talked to my supervisor. So it never became about the phone call, what this lady had to say. It was just about me telling somebody about this story. We get to the top of this hill. All right. So my chief, initials EB, who was originally from New Orleans, has a little talk with me. Like, hey, you can't be doing that. If you do it again, I'm gonna have to write you up. And I'm trying to explain to him. I understand what he was saying. So I told him what I was trying to do. So as time goes on, you know, I transfer. I'm going about my life. So this second class petty officer, who's the one that was living in base housing, so the story's about, he had his homeboy was close. He had his homeboy that was real close with him. And before I retired my last duty station, I ran into this guy. So I was stationed in NRD Richmond. And I ran into like this guy who was his best homie. They was real tight. Two peas in the same pod. So after we, you know, saw each other chopping it up, I told him about that story. So he gave me more deets, right? So to confirm everything about that story, and even more deets about that second class and his transgressions. I didn't know he was programming like that. But it is what it is. That's his life. But what's crazy, this happened years ago, over a decade. So the second class that was involved in the story, you know, social media came around. And it might have been me, it might have been him who did the friend request. So you know, you say, yo, hey, what's going on? So that's what happened. So after I had that story with his homie, had that talk, I reached out to him. I'm like, yo, I just ran into your old boy, JF. Immediately, instead of saying like, oh, okay, well, that's what's up, how you doing? His first response was, what did he say? I'm like, oh. For him to say that, let me know like everything the old boy told me in that story was all confirmed with his response, with all he was concerned about was what the guy said, not how the guy doing or anything. So that's pretty much what that story ended. So that was one story where